see me, Vox?
My boy, you're the grand champion of Dreadzone. The whole galaxy wants to see you. Don't you see, kid? I've been doing everything in my power to make you a star. I've transformed you from a worthless nobody into the hottest celebrity in the galaxy.
Right. So that's why your news show is slandering me every 6 seconds.
Slandering? What? I was building up your bad boy image. Oh. And this is the thanks I get.
Whatever.
Now, don't be such a baby. I'm about to offer you the opportunity of 1,000 lifetimes. I'm making you the new captain of the Exterminators, the star of the show. Think of it. We'll make billions. We'll sell Ratchet action figures, Ratchet sports shoes, Ratchet deodorant, Ratchet breakfast cereal, earmuffs and cologne, soft drinks, hard drinks, energy drinks, breath mints. You get record deals, movie rights, reality shows, video games, and commercials.
No deal, Vox.
What did you say?
I'm not your puppet, Vox. You actually think I'd kill other heroes to get rich? You're not just corrupt, you're stupid.
Why you just signed your own death warrant.
So we're done then.
Let him go.
Yes, sir?
We're gonna need one final Dreadzone campaign. Have them prepare that, experimental one we developed.
Sir, you don't mean the Gauntlet of Doom, do you?
Yes.
But, sir, it was mathematically proven to be unbeatable. Right away, sir.
Well, Ratchet, mess with the Viper, and you'll get the thanks. Greetings, I'm Solidus-Skully, and welcome back to Ratchet Deadlocked, where things are really beginning to pick up. As now we only have 2 levels left in the game, our penultimate planet, which wasn't Meraxis, silly me, and of course a level to come later, but in the meantime, well, things are getting dangerous, so it's time to power up!
My friends, it is a black day for Dreadzone fans across the galaxy. Ace Hardlight, champion exterminator and respected philanthropist, was brutally cut down by the maniac contestant known as Ratchet, aka the Butcher of Bogan.
Fans reacted to Ace's defeat with shock and outrage.
Boo! We hate you, Ratchet. You cheated.
Ratchet is a malicious criminal. He must be punished.
Bowing to public pressure, Gleeman Vox acted quickly to address the issue.
Fans of Dreadzone, I share your pain for the loss of the mighty Ace Hardlight. I encourage you all to express your grief and sympathy by purchasing this limited edition Ace Hardlight Memorial Action Figure on sale now for only 299 bolts.
A Vox News investigation later revealed that Ratchet used banned performance-enhancing drugs.
In accordance with Dreadzone Regulation C6-5/9, Paragraph 2, Ratchet has been sentenced to meet his fate on the Gauntlet of Doom! This special event will be broadcast live tomorrow night only on Dreadzone! I cannot believe this, folks! We are live from some blarg awful station out in the middle of nowhere. Ratchet and Clank, aka Team Darkstar, have conquered 9 planets, survived hundreds of arena battles, and even defeated Dreadzone's grand champion, Ace Hardlight. Who would have ever imagined this? Now, in a drastic and downright vindictive move, Gleeman Vox has sent Team Darkstar to the Ghost Station. The course is unbeatable, unbearable, unthinkable, and I'm having an aneurysm just talking about it!
So, this is the Ghost Station, which clearly, since there's ghost robots, mean that Ratchet & Clank jumped that— okay, you know what, I've already done that joke plenty of times. And much like Deadlocked itself, I too am beginning to get a little bit repetitive, so I think it's about time that we just sort of got on with shit, really. Yeah, the Ghost Station. I will say that it is a really good level to finally end the game on. Well, again, this isn't technically the final level, obviously, but, you know, close enough. It sets up the end game quite nicely, and, well, again, it's pretty much a sort of use all your gimmicks now or forever hold your peace, and in the case of the first part, it's primarily based around using the grind rails to zip around and just do a thing, really. So, yeah, in a similar case to Planet Torval, actually, yeah, it's also based around, you know, a sort of a tangible context kind of thing of basically, you know, escape from the Ghost Station and destroy it to ensure that no other Dread Zone contestants ever have to go through this sort of thing. And then it seems we're going to take on Dread Zone good and proper, so yes, the end game is approaching. But yeah, there really also isn't too much that the game does to really change things up. It's basically everything that you've seen before, just done in pretty much a sort of round robin, let's wrap things up and get all the stuff that we haven't shown off now up to this point, to give it its time in the spotlight before we bow out and end the show. Not really too much else to say, apart from that, really. I will say that I do quite like the atmosphere of the Ghost Station. It's, very haunting. It doesn't really play up the horror of the situation quite as much as you'd think, but again, as you can see with the enemies, yeah, we are fighting the ghosts of all the Dread Zone robots we have slain, and that might seem a little bit creepy until you realize that these aren't actually ghosts, but rather holograms constructed by Gleeman Vox himself, which he'll use in his final boss fight, and yeah, at this point, since there's no exterminators left to stand in our way, there's only one man who was going to be our final boss fight, and that is Gleeman Vox. The Shark Man who looks like he'd rip the flesh off a person's back and then eat it will be our boss.
Way from here to Florano, why don't we skip it and head back to my condo for a cocktail and a dip in the jacuzzi?
Well, yeah, thank you for that, Dallas. That was very informative. And now comes the tricky part, because I have no more trivia to back me up, nothing to say, and, well, I mean, for one thing, I die here, because I forgot to look out for that guy in the turret, and I guess the only thing I really can say at this point is that, it's Ratchet Deadlocked. What do you want me to say? Well, I guess compared to any other environment in the game, it does kind of put the most effort into making this final level the best it can be within Deadlocked's framework. Like, I mean, I guess the fact that you're all tangibly destroying the facility is one thing, but I don't know. I guess something that I never really touched on is, I think I might have brought it up in the Ratchet & Clank 3 review, which was actually to do with, I think it was the Gaming Brit who was comparing Ratchet 3 to the second game, and, another thing he also compared it to Deadlocked, which, he prefers to Ratchet 3, and, in the sense that they were able to work better within their means. At the same time, though, again, I feel like the Ghost Station is an example of what, you know, working within Deadlock's means can be to its benefit, because again, you are utilizing a lot of the gameplay elements that have made Ratchet & Clank the series it is up to this point. The thing of it is that when you're doing this kind of a lot of the levels do have a tendency to sort of blend into the background, which, again, it's not necessarily in a negative way, because I mean, again, I can still take a look at any screenshot from Ratchet Deadlocked and still recognize what game it came from on an artistic level and in terms of gameplay. I suppose to me, some of the less memorable levels just sort of tend to blur together, which just makes this game feel a little bit more robust than in fact it is. But then again, I think I've kind of critiqued Deadlocked to hell and back in regards to, you know, what it does, how it does things, and again, when you're playing the game for yourself, you don't really tend to notice this as you're, you know, interacting with the game and, you know, seeing everything that it has to offer and, you know, just enjoying the core gameplay loop as is intended. It's just that when you're looking at it from afar, it just runs the gamut of just feeling like it all sort of coalesces together, and it's not a bad thing, mind you. Because I do think the game has enough style, substance, and indeed, like, a lot of, you know, technical aspects to keep you distracted and engaged, even if you're just watching a playthrough of it. But at the same time, you do also see where a lot of the flaws come in, and I suppose, like, you can probably see what I'm saying, but at the same time, I guess that's also a factor of, you know, a lot of these problems just don't really seem to matter in the grand scheme of things. You know, if you're either entertained by the game's story or just having fun while playing the game, so... It's very difficult to sort of, like, talk about a game in that sort of aspect, where, again, you're still having fun, despite the fact that it's flawed. And, again, I guess the phrase guilty pleasure will come up into that sense, but at the same time, is it really a guilty pleasure if you're enjoying yourself? I don't know. It's difficult for me to kind of capitalize Ratchet Deadlocked, because, again, I don't think it's so easily classified into, you know, good game, bad game, as, you know, a lot of the internet seems to sort of delegate it, but... I don't know, it's in a weird position because, again, I wouldn't technically call Deadlocked Ratchet & Clank 4 because the gameplay, while the differences are subtle, it is also markedly different compared to, you know, the previous games and, you know, what the future trilogy would do, so... I don't know, it's kind of bizarre for me to really sort of rank Deadlocked as a game as a whole, which I guess I'll maybe get to by the time we get around to the credits, but... Either way, it's an interesting game, and I suppose if nothing else, I'll take an interesting, if flawed, good game as opposed to, I don't know, something that's a fucking dull, tedious experience and sucks. Where was I going with that previous point? I have no idea. Oh, now I remember what I was doing. I was filling in for time as we infiltrate the Ghost Station's defense systems and, hold on a second, just thought there was somebody out there.
I'm getting really nervous and scared because of all the ghosts.
Yeah, but anyway. Soundtrack is pretty good for this point of the game. Though, then again, that kind of goes for a majority of Deadlocked, although... I do kind of wish I did point out a few of my favorite tracks, and again, I have tried to have them play, like, in the, like, at the end of all these videos, but... not really too much I can do at this stage, it's just sort of... what it is, really. But again, if you ever do get the chance, I do highly recommend that you do go out and, you know, listen to the Ratchet Deadlocked soundtrack on YouTube, because again, it is well worth the listen, and, to talk about the soundtrack in and of itself, actually... Yeah, David Bourgeot, he didn't just compose, like, one overall theme for the level and that's it. He actually composed several different pieces for the individual challenges that you'll be playing throughout the level, and while you do get some that occasionally replay during the Dread Zone challenges, you know, the optional stuff, at the same time, like, the fact that he went out of his way to make so many different soundtracks for each individual Dread Zone challenge that you do is, honestly God, really fucking cool, and it also gives Deadlocked soundtrack so many individual pieces for you to listen to, and it's... Again, it's a really massively made soundtrack, so go and listen to it now. On DVD and video, even though those things aren't really a thing anymore. Well, I mean, I think DVDs are, if only just, but yeah, it's neither here nor there in this case. No, resist the idea of going into a DVD tangent, Mr. Solidus-Skully. You're already an old grouchy fucking granddad as it is, you don't need to be turning off the people going, who cares? Streaming services, dude. Just do it, dude. It angries up me old britches, so it does. But anyway, now, for this mission we gotta destroy the computer system which is holding the hovership hostage. Whoopee. Does have some pretty cool visuals about it though, but that's pretty much all she wrote. But yeah, I guess to also further the attempts at sabotage for Team Darkstar since Ratchet refused to take Gleeman Vox's offer. Yeah, as I mentioned in the previous part, this also would have been the level where Clank was kidnapped, and you would have had to have rescued him. Then I suppose blown up the station, which is probably why the challenge is called Prison Break. Which, I mean, again, is quite curious, because again, I suppose that was where you would have broken Clank out of prison. And there is cutscene data for this, actually. But, again, much in the same vein as Up Your Arsenal, it's also very unfinished and, like, has very T-posed models sort of thing. So yeah, there's nothing really new to run around over there, so... In any case, you're pretty much just bopping about, doing the same thing, killing enemies and doing a thing. Although I will say, actually, like, in terms of the character dialogue, is that, yeah, things get very grim. Like, I mean, it even gets to a point where Merc and Green in levels say that they're willing to die for you, which is, again, like, I mean, for two comedic characters, that is incredibly fucking grim, but it just sort of adds to the tone of Ratchet Deadlocked, and again, I know I've said this time and time again, but I do kind of wish the game capitalized more on its grimmer tone, which again, I realize that some people probably would have been a bit negative towards, because, too right, it's a bit too dark and edgy, and I don't like platformers that go dark. I like them to be light-hearted, like just hating Sonic Adventure 2 because it has government conspiracies. I'm an asshole. I don't know why I'm doing this voice. But I mean, I don't know, it just would have added some much needed meat to the story, and I think really sort of added like the crescendo finale to the PS2 trilogy before going towards a more whimsical direction that well, I wouldn't even say whimsical direction for the future trilogy, because it was more, I guess, cinematic is really the only way I could describe it. I mean, the only thing I would use to really say whimsical in terms of Ratchet & Clank would be like the stuff that came after Crack in Time, like, you know, All for One, Full Frontal Assault, and what was it, Q-Force, or was that just another name for one of the games? Yeah, whatever, the pishy games that nobody really cares about, apart from the reboot and then something else. Just smash the computer systems and you'll be good to go. Just like real life, except it won't get anything to work, and we'll just break your computer, which is fucking expensive nowadays. We won, let's get on with this shit. Loading, we are still loading. All in our loading. It's been a while since I did that song. And yeah, this is pretty much our final thing, where we have to destroy the space station, one of which by destroying a lot of the gun turrets, which I suppose double as power nodes, and the other of which is also destroying the little power cores as denigrated by the glowing green squares on the side of the station. I don't think we actually get to see the facility blow up, so again, we're just meant to take the game's word for it, although, I don't know, you would have thought for the final level that they would have, you know, at least had one animation of the station breaking apart. Well, then again, I suppose there is also something else that I could bring up actually in terms of Ratchet Deadlocked's cutscenes, is that, yeah, I believe unlike the PS2 versions, a lot of these cutscenes are actually pre-rendered video files, and I don't mean in the sense that they're using, like, you know, high-end CG in order for to utilize these cutscenes as other games would have, but again, they're basically just using, like, a lot of the in-game models, except just playing them as FMV videos, which you can actually see, because unlike previous Ratchet & Clank games where you could unlock skins and, you know, have those skins play out in the cutscenes, yeah, Ratchet will just appear in his designated Dread Zone armor. So again, if you wanted to wear, like, the Marauder armor as opposed to the Crusader armor with its garish yellow color scheme, actually no, I think it might have been green, whatever. Yeah, he'll pretty much wear the appropriate armor, so like, I mean, during the Crusader cutscenes, he'll wear the Crusader armor, during the Liberator cutscenes, he'll wear the Liberator armor, so on and so forth. A bit of a shame, really, but I suppose that is also part of the reason why, I don't know, skins are just purely a gameplay thing. At the same time, though, again, if they were going out of their way to make their cutscenes FMV, then why not have, I don't know, specifically delegated scenes to having, like, space stations being destroyed? I don't know, really. But yeah, this level, I guess it could be seen as kind of cool that you're destroying a space station, but it is also a bit of a time-consuming fuck-about just trying to look for the nodes and destroying all the turrets or whatever, so it's okay considering what you're doing and that you're pretty much saving fellow Dread Zone contestants from doing a thing, but yeah, it ends on a bit of a damn squib, unfortunately. Not bad, but, you know, could have been worse, could have been better. Whatever, really. So I suppose, to kind of jump the gun on a certain character who will be returning, I mentioned in the previous part that, you know, Big L, our beloved robot guy nerd dude, is dead. Except not, because in the next cutscene you're going to be seeing, he's going to be returning with cyborg upgrades. Not that they really do anything with it, it's just sort of but yeah, he comes back and it is what it is, really. I mean, I honestly thought I'd have more to say on it, but I don't know, it's... I guess considering that Al doesn't really do anything in any other game in the series, his, you know, return just comes across as a little bit pointless, or like a bit of a 4Kids-esque, like, oh no, everybody was safely evacuated to the safe zone. I don't know, I suppose maybe undercutting some of Deadlock's sharper teeth, so to speak, would probably be what kind of gets my goat somewhat, but it's negligible, so really, fuck it. So, how's everybody been doing? You been, being good? How's your sex life? this is pretty much all there is, so I hope you enjoy some hovership bants. Well, I was supposed to talk about the hovership in terms of how it controls in general. I did probably bring this up in Stygia, but yeah, the bigger hitbox, the ship itself does honestly go make me wonder if this was going to be used for starship combat, and even looking at the frontal design of it actually, like thin out the ship's wings a little bit, and again you have pretty much what is Aphelion from the Future Trilogy, where that's, well, again, to talk about Aphelion for a second, that's pretty much the de facto spaceship that you get in Tools of Destruction. And I don't know, the hovership here seems to kind of resemble like an early version, which is a bit odd, because I mentioned earlier also with the Captain Starshield prequel comic that, again, it mentioned that he fought the Kragmites, which are also things from Tools of Destruction, so yeah, I guess more than a few things got their beginnings in Ratchet Deadlocked. I don't know. I mean, I suppose it could be a thing where maybe some early ideas of Tools of Destruction got their beginnings in Deadlocked itself. I mean, the tone itself was probably going to be more akin to Ratchet & Clank Classic with a bit more of a light-hearted bent, because contrary to how people talk about, you know, the Future Trilogy as this whimsical DreamWorks sort of story kind of thing, at the same time though, replaying Tools of Destruction rather recently, it actually does seem to kind of meld both that and the, like, sort of raunchy PS2 style of it. Which is weird, because, I mean, Tools of Destruction as a game I feel is okay, not great. But at the same time, it does sort of feel like a half step between where the series would, you know, move going forward, but mixed in with a bit of that residual PS2 sort of style about it, which is interesting to say the least. And we only have 2 to go. Already done. Whoopee.
You did it, Ratchet. Now, come meet me back at our containment area. I have a plan.
So, this is pretty much our endgame. If you have anything left to do in any of the levels, do it now, because, well, as you're going to be seeing in the next cutscene, yeah, it's a one-way ride. So, on that note, I am Solidus-Skully, keep it new metal, and next time on the Ratchet Deadlock commentary, yeah, we're going to be finishing the game off good and proper. Catch you dudes and dudettes next time, and I'll see you later. Bye-bye.